Have you ever heard of a hormone disruptor? It doesn't sound good because it isn't, and they're everywhere. If you're starting to feel overwhelmed by hormonal changes, we've got something great to share with you. It's called Hormone Harmony, and it contains science-backed herbal extracts called adaptogens. And here's the beauty about those. They help the body adapt to stressors like chaotic hormonal changes. You're not imagining the racing thoughts or the low moods because those are menopause symptoms. So is poor sleep, bloating, and gas. Happy Mammoth, the company that created Hormone Harmony, is dedicated to making women's lives easier. Try Hormone Harmony. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Use our code UUPodcast at checkout. That's happymammoth.com. Use the code UUPodcast for 15% off today. Go to happymammoth.com and use the code UUPodcast.
Welcome to Uncluttered and Unfiltered, the podcast urging you to let it go and don't look back. With nationally acclaimed professional organizer Christine Stone and self-proclaimed hot damn mess radio and TV personality Kendall.
Welcome, everybody, to Uncluttered and Unfiltered, the podcast for women over 50. My name is Kendall. Christine Stone is a professional organizer, so any organizing tips you take away from this will certainly only be from her and not me, but be careful, you might just learn something. How are you?
Good. How are you after the race?
Oh, well.
How am I?
Great.
I just sat there and clapped and,
We have a very, very big weekend event here in North Florida called the Donna Marathon Weekend. And our mayor, coincidentally, she's now our mayor, but she used to be a news anchor in town, Donna Deegan, who has had 3 bouts with breast cancer, has this gigantic marathon weekend to finish breast cancer.
Yes.
It's called the Marathon to Finish Breast Cancer. I ran the half marathon and it goes right by your house.
Yes, which is so
fun.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
I love that I get a chance to see you, but it was fun. But what happened the next day was, this always happens on a Sunday. So I ran this half marathon. A lot of people ran the full marathon. A lot of people, it was their first time.
Right.
I try to go every year. We had photos here at the TV station, and that was on Monday, and I only had 1 pair of shoes to match my dress, and these are full-length photos. I couldn't get them on my feet. See, I have these really high-heeled shoes. Could not get them on my feet the next day after the race, but I had no choice. I had to cram them in and walk around in these shoes because they were what I had chosen already for the photos. But, first world problems, as they say.
Well, I laughed so hard that I'm sitting there just clapping away, telling my husband, I can't see far away. I can only see close up. Find her and let me know so I can videotape it. And he kept saying the whole time, that's her. No, it's not. That's her. No, it's not. I'm like, I'm not going to take you seriously in a minute. I'm going to miss it. So that's what happens as you're older. You have to say, which one do you want to see better, up close or far away?
You have to make these choices.
You have to make these hard choices.
Fortunately, I saw you two before you saw me. So I was able to run and get right in your faces, and I loved it. And I loved having that video afterward.
Oh my God, it was so funny.
Very rarely do I ever get to see, I always want to see, do I look like I'm dying? Do I look like I'm having fun? And
I was having you look like you were having fun.
I was having a really good time.
I was dying just watching people running. I'm like, that looks painful. Like I would have commentaries of like, God, that maybe I should go give them something. You know what I mean? Some people look like they are in pain.
Yes.
I mean.
And that's very often is me too, but not in this case.
Oh, not in this case.
So today's episode is about a book that is sweeping the nation. It's by Mel Robbins, who we love.
I love Mel.
And she has written a book along with her daughter Sawyer called The Let Them Theory.
Yeah.
And this was after making some videos from her podcast where she was talking about the Let Them Theory, and it went so viral that she thought, I need to make this into an entire book.
Right.
Yes, there was some backlash as to whether or not did she really create the Let Them Theory. I don't know that she ever really said she created it, but whether she did or she didn't, she's the one who wrote a book. So that's what we're talking about today.
And I think when you get as big as she is, you're going to have backlash because people want to, poo-poo all over whatever good things are happening. So I kind of ignore that a little bit.
Did you let them? You just said,
I just said, you know what? You're going to always have those detractors and people who are not happy for your success, whatever it may be. Listen, I think she's amazing.
Yes.
So
When she speaks at you so confidently, like when she says, listen and do this. She even has a book or a podcast called This Is What You Should Do. She's very specific and intentional. But when we discussed the idea that we should read this book and also the Brooke Shields book and talk about it on the podcast, I didn't realize you were stressing out.
oh my God.
Why?
Because I wrote this down because I couldn't even remember. The last time I read a book, I mean, a real book, was the James Fry when he was on Oprah's book club, Million Little Pieces.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's been a minute.
Okay. And Prince of Tides.
Oh my gosh. Were my kids even born when that came out?
Right. No, I wasn't even married. Okay. So I was like, how am I going to do this? And then my daughter said, do it on tape. And I Audible. And I go, what? She goes, you can listen to it. It's like a podcast, but it's a book. So I go on and I'm listening, but I don't want to tell you because I feel like I'm cheating.
Little does she know. And I consider myself a prolific reader. I read.
Right.
I'm always reading a book. But here's what I guess I should also mention when I tell people I'm reading a book. I'm not reading it, I'm listening to it.
Okay.
So
well, I didn't know that.
Every single book that I've read since you've known me, I have only listened to it because in my mind, it's the same thing. I have absorbed everything that the author wrote. And what I love about when I read a book that is a memoir, I feel like the author told me their life story personally. Like Cher, I feel like I know her right now so well because she just read me her life story. So it's great. And the narration on the Let Them book is fantastic.
Is fantastic. You feel like she's your best friend and you're sitting at her house and she's telling. I thought that's better than reading the book. Sorry, everybody, but I really, really did. I thought that the way she even gets emotional while she's reading it, it just feels more authentic and more real, in my opinion.
It was great. So now what we aim to do is discuss the book, the premise, not in a way where you don't need to go out and get the book.
Right.
But in a way where if you're never going to go out and get the book, you at least can benefit from the words that we read. But I think you're going to want to listen to it, or at least some of her podcasts where she discusses it. Getting
an opinion from women over 50 too, because you and I both had a couple opinions.
We did.
On
not everything did we agree with.
Well, not everything was really relatable to people over 50 either, like some of the things.
So it's a twofold premise. It's let them, let me. So let them means, oh, your friends all went out and had a happy hour and they didn't invite you and you only just found out from seeing it on social media. Let them. Let them. They're grown women. They can invite who they want to invite. But let me think about, should I do some reaching out on my own? Should I be the one maybe suggesting some get-togethers so they know I'm game for the next one? Should I, drop these friends? What should I be doing about it? So let them, and then let me. So most of it is common sense.
I thought a lot of it was, and what happened was, I couldn't get the Jerry Maguire scene out of my head. Let me help you. Once she said it once, I'm like, oh God, now I can't get that Cuba Gooding Jr., Tom Cruise scene out of my head because that's all I kept thinking about. Let me help you.
But one of the things I loved too was she was talking about her son's prom.
Yep.
And this was a classic example of using the let them philosophy, which is he didn't put a lot of planning into his prom. He asked her at the last minute. The date, he is asked by his mom, Mel Robbins, does he want a corsage? And he's like, nope, she doesn't need a corsage. She does not let them. She goes and gets a corsage anyway because she's like going to be the hero if at the last minute he needs a corsage. And then not only that, doesn't plan for where they're going to go eat afterwards.
Right.
There's no reservation in place, and she's losing her mind. Versus what let them would be, which is let them go. Let them show up to the restaurant and not get a table. Let them stand in the rain because they didn't plan. Let them. Let these things happen. And I am that mom that would have bought that corsage. Just
I am the mom. I don't know what happened, but my older daughter said, "Oh, I need a boutonniere." I said, "The prom is tomorrow." Well, I need one. So of course I run out all over town. People,
because every prom is the same time.
Exactly. And even the woman at the florist bullied me and was like, "You're waiting until now?" I said, "It's a long story. Is there any way?" I mean, I've done that so many times, so that really rang true for me, especially when you have girls. You feel like you need to step in and you know better and you've been there. And, I just think that really was exactly what a lot of moms tend to do. They just step in and say, "You can't do this without making a reservation. You can't," I think now, hindsight, I might have let them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened there. She went ahead and she did pull that corsage out when the girl gave him a boutonniere. Only after she did that did she realize in a very embarrassed state that she had made her own corsage.
Right.
So it was kind of an embarrassing situation. Now the girl's like, "Oh, okay, I'll wear it." And the son's furious.
Right.
Whereas that's when sometimes you just, as you said, have to let them.
Right.
So another part of the book that really stood out to me, and I've struggled with this, I want to say my whole life, and now I'm just going to stop, so I say, is when someone has an issue with something you do, they think that maybe you're, I don't know, a pain in the neck when you're doing this, or they just have these little beefs with you. It doesn't mean they don't love and like you.
Right.
And that's something that, for me, I always have stressed uncontrollably about. If I do or say something that I know might have been a misstep, I think that person's going to hate me.
Right.
And in reality, you have things your husband does that drive you crazy. There are things that my daughter does or my son does that I don't love about them.
Right.
But I love them unconditionally.
Right.
And I think with friends and coworkers and what have you, sometimes you think if you make a mistake that they're just not going to like you anymore.
Right.
And that's just not the case. So I took that away from this book. If you're a regular listener to this podcast, you know that I, Eden, just went back into a career situation where I have to actually get dressed and be seen in public.
Well, it's not just public, it's TV.
Well, that is true, but even if it weren't for TV, I'd still be starting from ground zero because my style has changed, the trends have changed.
Armoire to the rescue.
Armoire makes getting dressed easy. It's a clothing rental membership, and I can build the perfect wardrobe with brands that are high quality, unique, and recommended just for me. I took a 5-minute style quiz, selected my items, and then the styles just showed up at my door in as little as 2 days. And when I'm ready for my new clothes, I'm just going to swap them out for more new to me styles.
What I like about it is you'll have an endless assortment of clothing, but your closet won't become a cluttered mess.
Right now, you can try Armoire with up to 50% off your first month. That's up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/UU podcast. That's ARMOIRE.style/UU podcast to get up to 50% off your first month and never worry about what to wear again. Try Armoire today. Uncluttered and Unfiltered is supported by Hearts for Minds. Can you imagine waiting 10 years to get screened for cancer? On average, people with mental health issues experience a 10-year delay between symptoms and seeking help, and close to 2/3 of mental illnesses go untreated. Hearts for Minds promotes healthy lives by promoting mental health education, facilitating early identification, and connecting people to treatment. Are you ready to learn more? Go to heartsforminds.org. That's hearts, the number 4, minds.org. for more information and to learn how you can help.
I liked, I wrote it down because I was pretty impressed with the 5 whys.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
The reason why I liked that so much, and the premise is, if something bothers you about somebody else, 5 times you're supposed to ask yourself why, so you dwindle it down to the real reason by the 5th why. That's what I took away from it.
Okay, so let's put that in practice. How can we do that? All right, let's say the daughter doesn't have a boutonniere and it's the day before. Why are you upset?
Right.
Because you don't want her to
You don't want her to be the only one that didn't do a boutonniere. Well, why? Why would you be upset that she isn't the only one? Because she would feel out of place. Well, why would she feel out of place? You know, like you're really dwindling it down to the point where you're like, really, it's about you. That's what I think. The fifth why is always like, well, why do you care?
Yeah, well, how is this your problem?
Right. How is this your issue? So you could do that with someone who drinks too much, someone who, you know, doesn't have the same values as you. Anything that you kind of differ, it's like, well, why does that bother you? What is that? I just love really, I never really thought of it that way before, where you have to keep asking why. And to me, that was a really kind of eye-opening thing.
Yeah, because 9 out of 10 things that I worry about or stress about that keep me laying awake looking at the ceiling at night are either a text that somebody didn't reply to. What could they be thinking? What could they possibly be thinking? Well, why? Why does it matter?
Right.
Why?
Right.
And also things that are never going to happen but could potentially happen.
Right.
And for example, you know, say you have a job that, this is not a personal experience at all, but say, you know, you have a job at a business that you don't think is going to be a successful business, you know, and you want to look for a new job, but you know it's going to make everyone else upset. And why? Why are you not going to move on that? You know, there are just a lot of different... You have to talk to yourself more than we do, I think.
Yeah, it's about finding out really what is the bottom line problem that's making you so upset about this. And without being defensive, when you're talking also to the person, you know, you're not allowed to be defensive. You're not allowed to make statements. It's always, well, why do you feel this way? And they say, I don't know, I just do. And not nagging them, not going on and on and on about it, which, you know, sometimes you can be like, especially as women, I'm not trying. I
said why?
Right. Exactly. So that was a big one for me. And also friendships later in life. That really made a lot of sense, because you know me, we always talk to everybody about what a homebody I am. And it really made sense. Like, if you want to be included in things, then make an effort. If you move somewhere new and you have no friends, make an effort. And people think everybody should come to them and everybody should call them and include them. And I love that it kind of turned that whole thing around. Like, no, you reach out to people, you make an effort.
If they rather than feel slighted,
right?
If somebody has a party and you're not invited, and this is the example we used earlier, let them. But let me do things now that are more actively moving towards solidifying my friendships. So there are parties that I get invited to.
Right.
And that's the difference between just saying let them and then also figuring out, okay, I'm going to let them do their thing and I'm not going to get myself all wrapped up in it. But I'm also going to take some action, and I'm not going to sit back and let it happen again, because, you know, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me kind of thing. That's not something from the book. That's just saying, like, if that keeps happening, sometimes a pattern really is a pattern.
Right.
And if you're the only consistent in that pattern, then yes, you have to think, okay, I've got to do something different. I love the section, even though it doesn't apply to me on dating, because when she's talking to these young women and saying, if you're getting nothing back in your texts, that's how he feels or she feels.
Right.
You have to, if they want to show you who they are, let them.
Right.
Don't go out of your way to make excuses for them. Let them show you who they are.
Right.
And then I can't remember exactly how she said it, but it was something to the effect of, if you're wondering, if you're confused, there's your answer.
Right.
Because if you're wondering if he likes you and you think he does, there's your answer. If you're confused about his feelings, there's your answer. Because if he has legitimately good feelings and good intentions, or she, it's not gonna be a confusing situation. It's gonna be crystal clear.
Right. Well, and I saw on TikTok one of these where they put a bunch of Carrie and Big scenes together, but they put them together for how pathetic she was on
Sex and the City?
Yeah, on constantly, you know, going after him, even though he wasn't interested.
Yes.
And they clipped them all together. And I thought about that because I'm like, oh my God, when you see it like that, you're like, gosh, she was just driving that man insane and like kind of just really inappropriate when you see it all lined up together and not letting him make any moves or any feelings really towards her, of course, until the movie. But it just, I mean, it's great for younger people, in my opinion, to be reading that chapter because with social media and everything, people read into things when they're dating that, I mean.
Well, there's a great country song called If He Wanted to, He Would.
Right.
And it's like, just because he wished you happy birthday on your birthday.
Right.
He didn't text you and say, let's get back together. Because guess what? If he wanted to,
he would.
He would.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the deal with most people in this world. If they wanted to, they would.
Yeah.
I mean, I've made millions of excuses for people over the years.
Right.
And I'm sure people have done that for me. But at the end of the day, you got to let people show you who they are.
I agree. And the other part that I loved was rescuing people. You need to step back and allow adults to face consequences for their actions. I have to be honest, I don't think I did that until my late 50s. Honestly, maybe, late 50s.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I had to fix everything. I had to.
You're a fixer.
Yeah, I'm a fixer. And I had to, I couldn't just sit back and watch a train wreck. Mm-hmm. Now, I can do it. It's not easy, by the way. It took a lot of work. But I knew better. I could fix the situation if they would just listen. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And
that's who this book is for, really, is the fixers out there. Yeah. The fixers.
I'm a former fixer.
The fixers and the naggers.
Yeah.
I'm the nagger.
And I'm the fixer.
And you're the fixer.
Because I have all the answers. And if you would just listen, your life would be so much easier. And people have to learn on their own. And that's why I said some things in this book are common sense, because I kind of learned that way before this book. And you have to let people, they're grown adults, let them fall, let them make mistakes, let them do things you wouldn't approve of. They're grown adults.
They're grown-ass women.
Yes,
and
you just have to let them be. And
let them.
Yeah.
So as long as we're on the subject of Mel Robbins, there's something else she made a video about, and I just love it so much. And I've never done this. If I did it, I think my husband would think I'm crazy, and I know you're never going to do it, but it's called slithering. Have you ever seen her video about slithering?
No.
She suggests, look this up, Mel Robbins slithering, that when you wake up in the morning, you should slither out of bed. And then she does it. She's in her bed. And if I wasn't wearing a dress right now and these ridiculous shoes that I can't walk in, I would show you. But she slithers out of her bed and basically slides into the bathroom or wherever she's got to go next and doesn't even stand up until she's been out of the bed for at least 15, 20 seconds. She's just slithering from the bed. Her idea being that that's how you're going to very gradually get out of bed and wake up in the morning. You're going to slither out of the bed. Oh, you're looking at me like it makes no sense.
Yeah, well, only because I'd be the one that would not be able to get up. Have I
told you this before? I think I have now that I think about it, but it's obviously not made an impression on you. Why would you want to do that? I don't know.
I would never want to do that.
I know you wouldn't.
You know me. I would never slither.
Do you bolt out of bed, or do you?
No, I don't bolt out of bed because I don't get up to an alarm. I automatically get up around 5:30, 5:45, automatically. It's just in my clock. So I lay in bed and watch TV for 15 minutes, watch the news for 15 minutes, but I'm not a pop out of bed kind of person. I have to gradually, slowly get up.
Well, I'll find this and I'll put it on our Instagram stories or in our Ladies Only Facebook.
I'm going to make a prediction, though. She is the Oprah of this generation.
Oh, yes.
She's going to have her own talk show. She's going to have many, many books in her future. And she is going to be what Oprah was to us, to this next generation. I think it's fantastic. Everyone needs an Oprah in their generation. But that's my prediction just from listening to this book. She has that very Oprah feel to her. And she's highly connected in the world of having people on her podcast. And I just think she's going to just take this ball and roll with it, which is fantastic. So.
Yeah, she's got some pearls of wisdom in that book for sure. And if you have a daughter, I think it's a great gift, like you gave it to your daughter. So anyway, we want to tell you how much we appreciate you being with us for this podcast. We hope you're listening to it. And if you want to see it, stay tuned for all different ways for you to watch this. And join us on our Ladies Only Facebook page. It's called Uncluttered and Unfiltered. Ladies Only. We'll let you right in. And
and we're doing Brooke Shields' book next.
Yeah, next month.
So ladies, if you want to read along. Mm-hmm. But I am excited for that book. I really am. I've heard her talk about it on different social medias and on, the Today Show and stuff. So I'm excited to read that book.
Me too. Me too. It's called Brooke
not
Shields.
Really read. Listen.
Brooke Shields is not allowed to get old, is what it's called. So one of the things in Mel Robbins' book she talks about is the difference between let it go and let them. So even if someone comes along and writes a book called Let Them and says that it's different than Let It Go, you can still read Let Them and then let it go.
And don't look back.